What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we're doing another round of Side A versus Side B. So we're digging into some of my favorite records. We're doing Take Offense, we're doing Madball, we're doing Antidote, and we're doing a handful of others. So check that out. Please support the podcast by subscribing to it wherever you listen to it. Also, like it, rate it, and if you could take the time to leave a review, that would be great. If you want to go the extra mile, you can go to patreon.com/185 miles south and become a monthly Patreon. There are bonus podcasts for every interview episode we do. So whoever is interviewed, I bring some buddies on and we talk about that interview and we go through a playlist of that person. And those are some of my favorite podcasts. So check it out. $1 gets you behind the paywall. Also, if you go to 185milessouth.com, there is a playlist for every episode. So check that out as well. And let's get on with the pod.
"185 Miles South", a hardcore punk rock podcast.
What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we're doing another round of Side A versus Side B. Helping out, you know him, you love him, the best dressed man on the pod. It is Dan Sant. What's up, Dan?
Bring the noise, CBs.
Yeah, man. And he is the author of the pod. It is Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. What's up, Ben?
Hello, how are you?
There you go. No fake British accent that time. I appreciate that. Yeah, so we're rolling as a 3 this time because scheduling is hard, dude. Everyone's got weird schedules. So normally a 4-piece. This time we're rolling 3. But let's jump right into it. So Side A, Side B, if you guys aren't familiar with this, basically I choose a bunch of records that I like a lot. And we go through and we decide, is Side A better or is Side B better? And the reason why I like this more than some other activities of looking at records is it's all positive, dude. Even if you hate the record, you got to find one that you like a little bit more. So that's what's up. And that's why we're hitting this again. I'm here to punish my friends. And I chose the 25 to Life, the demo 7-inch Back to Basics records. I believe Back to Basics 1. This is the 1993 demo that came out in 1995 on 7-inch. And Side A, Separate Ways, and Burned by the Flames, and Side B, Smacking You Up, and Inside Knowledge. And Dan, do you have a take on this? And then also, did you like it more or less than the self-titled 7-inch?
Early Days is the name of this 7-inch.
This is a demo. It's on the Early Days CD, which is what's on Spotify.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I'm already as mental as Rick to life. All right. So my 2 standout tracks from this EP are Burned from the Flames and Inside Knowledge. Burned by the Flames. I kind of like the tempo changes. The vocal rhythm's all right. The song Smacking You Up sounds like demented circus music at parts. Inside Knowledge is by far the best song here. It's more old school hardcore than the that 25 went on to be, so it kind of I like the way that it just comes out on top. So I'm going Side B.
Yeah, man. Inside Knowledge is also an anti-racist song. And when Ben's talking, I'll run and grab the lyric sheet because I scoured the internet the other day and couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, there's no way my 7-inch still has a lyric sheet. But sure enough, it did.
Well, you know what? You want inside knowledge? I'm going to give you some inside knowledge right now. 25 to Life got back together recently, with Stickman on vocals. And the original guitar player that brought the band back together has announced he's leaving the band to go solo in a project called Mista with an A, Bojangles, described as death metal meets oi.
Whoa. What is that going to sound?
Oh, man.
Mr. Bojangles coming soon. That's some inside knowledge for you.
Yeah. That's going to be ill, dude. I mean, what a perfect COVID project.
Well, you
My
love
two
death
favorite-
metal and you love oi.
I know. On one of those discussion pods, when Ben was mentioning, that the guitar is as important as the vocals, and I was arguing that it wasn't, because like, what if Glenn Benton sang for Lagwagon? This is. I wonder what way it's going to go. It's going to be oi music with death metal singing, or is it going to be death metal music with like a guy doing catchy sing-alongs?
Yeah. Or is it just going to be a cacophony of bullshit?
Who knows, dude? But hey, could be good. We'll see. Ben, what do you feel about this one?
Well, you certainly are a punisher, Zach, because I can't think of anything more punishing than listening to a 25 to life record. Not my cup of tea, but here is what I wrote. I'm just going to read verbatim my notes. This is so bad, LOL. Is he singing in English? I can only make out the swear words. Drum break on separate ways. Are those even drums? Burned by the flames is tedious. These guys sure love bass breaks. This is why you don't turn the gain to 10 on a guitar amp. Nothing to say about smaking you up. I hope he pronounces it smakin', because that's how it's spelled and I can't tell. Inside knowledge is 3 minutes too long. Side A is slightly less painless. Side A.
You know what? You're about to get smaked up from someone who's a 25 super fan.
Yeah, I mean...
They're dwindling these days.
It's tough because when I hear people on podcasts make fun of music I like, I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Why are you even talking about this? But it's like, this is the exercise. Like, this is, I didn't pick these records. I'm going along and doing the thing. And there's plenty of records on here I do like. So
the remit is punishment.
Well, this is like originally when we were going to have Joe on, it was going to be like, this is side A, side E, B4. So we're bringing the original crew back around, and I was going to hit you guys this 25 to life again and see if you liked it more or less. But I feel a little worse punishing since we don't have the whole original crew. But yeah, so inside knowledge, these lyrics are pretty fucking good, dude. Check this out. I'm going to read you like the first verse. Because I see beyond your idiocy, your false ideas of what America should be. No race superior, mixture of cultures, trying to achieve the American dream. That's sick. It's like actually good lyrics.
But he doesn't believe that anymore.
Yeah, well, hopefully he reads his old lyrics and comes around,
Yeah.
It's time for redemption, dude. Okay, so my take on this is it comes down to well, I don't know. This is Smacking You Up is the best song. So taking that, any inside knowledge, I gotta go side B. Smacking You Up, like that up tempo is so good. Dun 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 dun. It's kind of like their version of the Maiden Gallop. It's like a hardcore gallop.
Yeah, but the lead that is before that is the Demented Circus music.
Yeah, that part. I feel you on that. And the inside knowledge, dude. Classic anti-racist song. I love it.
The kings of Demented Circus music are Mr. Bungle.
Yeah, Flipper is in the conversation as well.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, moving forward with these exercises, like this will be the last one that I choose all, because now we have a giant master list that you guys can like choose some records off of, and we'll try to like circle in some newer stuff as well. And then people out there, you can hit us up if you want us to do certain records. Let us know, and we'll bump them to the front of the pack. All right, the second one we're doing is total classic, one of the greatest hardcore 7-inches of all time. Antidote, Thou Shalt Not Kill, 7-inch Antidote Records, 1983. Ben, let's go to you.
This might be my favorite pre-Victim in Pain New York hardcore record. I think I lifted some of the chords from the song Real Deal for a Fields of Fire song. Maybe the song Keep It Alive. I can't really remember, but I just remember like when I was writing a song, I was like, oh, I can have it like that Antidote song. But so I guess they can sue me. Great solo on the song Real Deal. Backups, it says in the notes that the backups are by Johnny that Hare Krishna Joseph. So this might be the first time John Joseph appears on a record from the Cro-Mags. I guess this might have been a little bit before he was even in the Cro-Mags, or maybe around the same time he just joined. I'm not sure. But that's cool because I've listened to this record hundreds of times and had no idea he sings backups on that song.
You discovered that in the research for this episode?
Well, you cut and pasted the song titles, and that was in part of what you cut and pasted. Oh, I guess I never read the liner notes that closely.
Yeah, because that's kind of like a common hardcore fun fact. So that's okay. Sick though. That's sick though.
Yeah, I just had no idea. Every song on this 7-inch is musically great. The lyrics for Foreign Job Lot suck. That shit is bullshit. It's too bad because the song itself, the music, has a sick breakdown that Youth of Today lifted for the song Understand. Or if they didn't, if they didn't do it on purpose, then they did it through, osmosis and listening to this record, a million times.
They lifted the breakdown and the voice.
They did. Okay. Yeah. Well, the voice definitely.
I don't think that voice. I mean, yeah, you can say that he was going for that, but it's way different. Ray is so much more animalistic.
That's fair.
Right.
That's fair. He turned it up to 11, but it's that snarl, and it's gonna sound different sonically depending on whoever does it, right? Like even Aaron and Stand Your Ground did a similar thing, but it's gonna sound different from him, and Eric Ozine did a similar thing. It's gonna sound different from him, but it's like the same approach to how you're singing.
Yeah, it's in the nose, snarling.
And this is really subtle, but where the breakdown goes down, down, da 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 down, down, da 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 da. I hear the Sex Pistols in that, and I think the Sex Pistols got it from the Who. But maybe that's just something. Those bands are so kind of ever present that maybe just if you're a drummer, you learn that, and then it's just in your bag of tricks, and you don't consciously think I'm going to put a Who part in this part of the song. And then in Got Me on the Line, he says, you look at me, I look at you. And that's exactly the way Pete Stahl sings, you look at me, I look at you. What the fuck you gonna do? On the first Scream album, which actually came out the same year as the 7-inch, but I think earlier in the year. So I don't know if that was, on purpose as well. And then Die at War is probably the most forgettable song on the 7-inch, and it still rips. So there's nothing bad here musically. And then Something Must Be Done is the obvious hit. It's the best song on the record. Who are we kidding? So luckily it's not on the side with the bullshit nationalist lyrics. So this one is easy for me. Side B wins.
Yeah, I think the hits on the record are Real Deal, Foreign Job Lot, and Something Must Be Done. They're the songs that stand out as more complete songs. But it's the other ones, starting Life is One and Nazi Youth, those are two just perfect opening tracks for raging early 80s hardcore. They're literally playing as fast as you possibly can without doing the scissor beat. And the songs are just in, out, under a minute. So ill. And then to go into Real Deal after that, which is a little bit longer of a song. I'm tracking it 140 or something, but it has a defined sing-along chorus and so forth. They toss a lead in there. One thing I thought was so interesting about this is that early 80s hardcore sound is sonically so awesome because the verse riff to this is it's what any 13, 14-year-old in a garage would do as a riff. Just it's just 4 notes on the down tempo. It's not even a riff. It's just 4 notes, but it sounds so ill because of this recording and like the way the singing is over it and like the drumming and the way they get all the sounds. It's just absolutely amazing. I agree 100% with Ben on Foreign Job Lot. The lyrics suck. It's like, it's really a bummer. And then it's like almost like his angry voice makes it worse in a little way, because it just sounds a little more hateful. And it's a bummer looking back on this. You know, it's one of those things like that never super bothered me before, but getting older and a little more worldly, you know, these things suck. And you know, thinking about it, it's like Shark Attack covered the song. I think they even put it on a record, you know, and that's kind of, it's a weird thing to think about. But yeah, these lyrics in retrospect aren't great. Side B, it's like Zero Mentality, Got Me Online, Diet War. Those are all just perfect hardcore songs. Perfect, straightforward, B+, great early 80s hardcore. And then Something Must Be Done, one of the fucking GOAT songs. You know, like that riff is so catchy. If you write a riff that catchy, that's as catchy as like any fucking chorus, that's next level. And then I also love like that they kind of throw you that curveball like later in when they go to like that surf riff, you know, it's like, oh, they're just keeping you going, but then they hit the main riff again. It's like, this is just a perfect wild song that who knows how the fuck they came up with this thing, but it's insane. And I'm going side B as well. Dan, what's your opinion?
Well, you know, this is regarded as like a god tier hardcore 7-inch for most people. It's $1,000 7-inch, pretty much, I think. You know, for first press, and you know, it's on everyone's wants. You know, maybe not realistically on everyone's wants, but it's on. You know, everyone wants it. Don't get me wrong; it's an amazing 7-inch, but it's never been up there for me. Like a lot of other things around this time would be. Now, that being said, like Real Deal is a god tier hardcore song. Like, it is so fucking good. And it's one of the first examples of the classic NYHC backups, you know, really hammering like hard backups coming out of like fast as fuck, like hardcore, and obviously punk before it on the pathway of this influence. This is like one of those first signposts of like really hard backups, you know, that would become a staple from then till now. Now, Foreign Job Lot, what a disappointment that these are just such fucking bullshit lyrics, because what an epic march on this song. It's so good, you know. Got Me on the Line. I feel like if you listen to that now, you can hear the obvious influence for Side by Side off of that song. Like the way it unfolds, like really listen to that, and then like it will, and then think Side by Side while you listen to it. It'll totally trigger that in your mind, I feel. But you know, as we've said, Something Must Be Done is the pop hit, awesomely covered by many bands we like, Kill Your Idols, and Redemption 87. I've got to go side B because Foreign Job Lot's on side A, and you know, it's funny that was always known as being a bullshit song when this song was when this music was introduced to me in the early 90s. People will be like, yeah, but this song sucks. But, you know, or early to mid 90s, but, you know, I was hearing it in San Diego, border town, and being, you know, having that being at the front of it, just being like, well, the person who taped it for me said they were almost going to leave that song off, but they didn't. But yeah, I side B all the way.
Yeah, no, if you saying that you don't think this is on the level of what a lot of people put it on, like I'm racking my brain to try to think of like what's close, because you know, just every song on this is good. You know, like the only thing I can think of that's better than this, like in the 80s, you know, obviously you say the Minor Threat 7-inches, but like for 7-inch format, like the Negative Approach 7-inch.
Yeah.
Like other than that, and the Abused 7-inch is like really close, I would say, to this. But otherwise, like this is just a standout. What do you think is significantly better?
Well, that's the thing is like when I'm saying God tier, do you know what I mean? Like this can be an amazing 7-inch, but it's not the one where I am thinking like if I had $1,000, I'd have the Negative Approach. If I had $1,000 to spend on a 7-inch, I'd have the Negative Approach 7-inch, not this. I'd have filler First Press, not this. You know.
Right, but if you're going to buy 5 7-inches of, you know, pre-1985 7-inch hardcore, 80 to 85, like this is top 5.
I will think about what 5 I could put against it for a later little check-in.
Yeah,
and I'll put 5 from the same era against it and see if it is in the 5 or not.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just think, you know, like United Blood just doesn't sonically sound as good. Like you can't hear the drums well enough to like have it there. Those songs are good enough. If United Blood had this recording, it would be better, I think. But United Blood doesn't have this recording.
Yeah, but
I was going to say, I was just trying to think of other 7-inches from the same time period that are almost as or close to being as good or in the same league. And there's one, do you know this band from Connecticut called CIA? They kind of morphed into 76% Uncertain, and a lot of those guys played on the first Shelter album, just strangely enough. But like for CIA 7-inch, it's called God, Guts, and Guns. It's so fucking good. It's up there with this one.
I have seen that 7-inch bandied around a lot as classic material, but I've never listened to it.
Is it on Spotify? We can toss it on a list for next time.
You know what? I don't know if it is. We'll have to look that up later.
Yeah, you can check, and then
and if it's not, make sure you get it uploaded, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We're going all the way back to 1978. Danger House Records. We're doing the Bags Survive 7-inch. And this is one of those classic 70s 7-inches where it's just 2 songs. So it's, do you like the A side or the B side? And Daniel, let's go to you. It's Survive versus Babylonian Gorgon.
Yeah.
Did you say Gorgon?
Yeah, Gorgon.
Gorgon.
It's a beast. I'm gonna say like both of these songs are great. That's why you gave it to us to debate, I think. But Survive is such a killer punk song with a really interesting musical beginning. Like the finger clicks and the hi-hat really are nodding to jazz and jazz club vibe, you know. But then the recording seems to ramp up as the punk attitude and the snare and the fun starts to come in. It's like the recording becomes a bit brighter around that time. You know, and then it also kind of downbeats a little bit brings the jazz stuff back at the end of the song, but it's such a good song. Babylonian Gorgon, I think the intro is really cool. The recording for both of these songs are great. The Babylonian Gorgon has more of what would go on to be considered kind of like a new wave vibe. It's a absolutely killer 7-inch, but I'm gonna have to go with Survive side A.
Ben, let's go to you.
This is one of these records I've been listening to since I was a little kid, so it's interesting to try to listen with fresh ears to something that I've heard forever. But I love how the intro to Survive sounds like they're all standing under lampposts in the 1940s with trench coats on and hats covering their faces while snapping their fingers. And it like would have made for a great music video if they had if they had made a video for this. And I never really noticed until now how discordant the guitar solo in the song Survive is. It sounds very Black Flag. And I think this was done between Nervous Breakdown and Jealous Again. So this is before Greg Ginn was putting little solos into the Black Flag song. So I wonder if it was an influence on Black Flag. No idea. But and then that scream towards the end of the song that Alice does is so wild. It's like there's some sort of studio effect that kind of like fades it out, which is really cool. And then the B-side is another classic early LA punk song, but Survive is definitely the more unique of the two. So I'm going to go with side A as well. Survive.
Yeah, Survive is more intricate. You know, it's got the wild, the do 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 do, like, which gives you like a really, I don't know, post-apocalyptic type feeling, or like, yeah, like you're standing out, you know, in the streets and it's rainy in the 1940s and you're under a lamppost. You know, just like dark vibes, but like they bring it in and Rage. It's a wild song. And you know what's so ill is they stick so much in the song and it's still under 3 minutes. You know, it's so fucking good. But I like that they can do a song like that where they really push, you know, I guess, like, I mean, in my simple brain, right? They're pushing these boundaries that weren't even really set yet. This is 1978. But like they're pushing the boundaries of like what I like. But then they can come in and the second song, side B, is just a straight 1978 LA punk rager. Like this is a great classic, straightforward, down-strumming song that is like right in the pocket of what I love. And yeah, I'm going side B, Babylonian Gorgon. And do you think they played D&D, Daniel? Is that what
Let's
this is
hope.
from?
Let's hope. Clash of the Titans had a Gorgon. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The Clash of Titans. This one, we're split. So, but yeah, two on side A and one on side B. And this would be a good time to tell everyone there's a playlist for every podcast. I'm trying to keep that up. And for these ones, it's definitely important. I'll never stop doing it for these guys. So if you need to check this stuff out for the first time, you can go to 185milessouth.com, click that playlist link, and yeah, there's a playlist. So
I really hope that you know, if people are listening to this and they're intrigued, like it's just one extra click, go listen to the music, because I would have loved stuff like this going on, and still love stuff like this going on, turning me onto new tunes that I may not have ever heard. And especially when everything's so accessible now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for these ones, we're only choosing stuff that's on Spotify. So, you know, to make it easier for the listener, because otherwise this could be really frustrating. Like, you know, I would love to do like the Florida Powerhouse 7-inch, but like how frustrating would that be if I talk for 10 minutes about how much this 7-inch rules and then there's like only 2 songs uploaded on YouTube? Like that's a nightmare, you know? So all this stuff's on Spotify, and you can get the link through the 185milessouth.com, or I don't know, if you're smart and you can figure out how to search Spotify, my username is 185milessouth, so you can find everything that way too. Okay, next one we're taking it to Victory Records, but early Victory, 1989, doing the Billingsgate Reach Out 7-inch. And yeah, they have it written down as this side and Pat's side, which is pretty funny. But let's go to you first, Ben. What's your take on this?
You know, I think this record actually came out in 1990. If people are, you know, a stickler for dates the way I am, but it's weird. Yeah, when you look at the Spotify page, it says 1989, and then you look at all the pressings, and it's all 1990, 1990, 1990. Like, how did it end up saying it's 89? But whatever. I'm sure it was recorded in 89 and came out in 90 or some shit. But like, this is one of those 7-inches. I actually didn't get the 7-inch itself initially. I got it from, there was a compact disc called Victory Records, the early years, and it had like this muscle man guy on the front of it, like lifting kids or something. and it had all like the first maybe 6 or 7 inches that Victory put out, and it's a cool CD, a good kind of introduction to the label. But I remember this being better than it is. I mean, than it was for me when I listened to it preparing for this episode. I love how he says, no boundaries, but then you get the dicka. And then there's a fun fact. It's the guitar player of Billingsgate is actually the singer of Dillinger 4, who has the higher, more melodic voice, Eric. So before Dillinger 4 existed, he lived in Chicago and he played guitar in a straight edge hardcore band, which is kind of funny because I think, doesn't Dillinger 4 have like a song that's like really kind of critical of the straight edge scene? Zach, our resident expert on Dillinger 4, is that true?
Not that I'm aware of. Not this blatant like that.
Right.
Unless I'm totally missing it. But because they're generally more like, I don't know, poetic, political, I guess.
Right.
I would think it's a stretch for them to like, all right, let's have a song bagging on straight edge. That doesn't seem like their lane.
Yeah. If I can find it, it's too late now. But there's the record cover has them all standing. You know, it's like a black and white photo of the band, and one of them has this straight edge Letterman jacket with a big X on it. And I don't know which one Eric is, but I hope that he's the one wearing the Letterman jacket. So if someone knows, please email us. But this record in general is like a very middle of the road sort of late 80s, early 90s straight edge record, which at one time was enough for me to be stoked on. Like, oh, it's a straight edge band that doesn't play metal. I'm sold. Like, that's all it took. Like, I had a very low bar for this kind of stuff. I can just picture like the person. You know how there are all these podcasts where they just go through entire discographies of record labels? Like there's a Discord one and a Revelation one, and there's a Death Wish one now. Do you know if there's a Victory one?
No, but that would be very interesting. Like someone should get on that.
Yeah,
because we should shout out Ben, like, because the people that do those label ones, like they do a really good job. At least the Discord one and Where It Went doing the Rev one.
Right. And so if you took on Victory Records, there'd be so many left turns. Like that label went through so many phases that it would be a trip to do. And I can just picture like, you know, someone getting to episode 2 and listening to this record and, you know, thinking like, what did I get myself into? And then by the time they get to design the skyline, they have like a shotgun in their mouth. This going by the end of side B, it's like we have the song "Won't Hang Myself," which is, it kind of drags. It's a little too long. And then side B opens with this great speech where he says, "Reach out and pass it on." And I love how, like, I love that, like, you know, straight edge hardcore record speech with a Chicago accent. And it's like my favorite part of the record. And then there's like a sweet reggae breakdown on the song "Open Your Eyes." But I'm going to go with side B just because that's the side that has the speech on it.
Yeah, you know, on the cover photo, I'm 90% sure Eric is the long hair next to the guy in the straight edge jacket that appears to be smoking a cigarette. So kind of interesting. I don't know if they're a straight edge hardcore band because there's something in his finger. Unless it is just his finger. I don't know. Someone zoom in more. I'll have to dig out the 7-inch. I'm just leaving the Discogs photo. But I have the 7-inch. Daniel, you want to take this?
Yeah. I hate following Ben when our thoughts are exactly the same. Like, I'm just going to rehash almost what Ben said. I hadn't thought of this band for ages, like seriously. But when, you know, they were around, or not even when they were around, when you know, you're starting to see the rest of Victory earlier records, when you are deep into the Firestorm. and this is an Edge band. I always thought it was one of the worst names ever. I'm like, Billingsgate sounds like a fucking accounting firm. Like, I do not like the name, but I like revisiting it for this experiment because I don't think I would have ever pulled this out ever again.
Dan, before we move on though, do you know what Billingsgate means?
No.
It's coarsely abusive language. And it's also one of the 25 wards of London.
Well,
yeah, I've just Googled it myself as well right now. I didn't know that either.
Well, I feel like this isn't kind of in that mouthpiece pocket. It's not quite Youth Crew, but it's not being metal. It's in that non-metallic, non-energetic hardcore. Old school, I suppose, could be labeled it. I don't know. But on a whole, the record is a little bit boring to me, but by far the best part of this whole record is the speech before Reach Out. And the words still ring true today of what it's saying, and it also goes before the best song, Reach Out. So that's why I'm going with side B, but I love the speech. I want to sample the speech on a future podcast or record. It's cool.
Yeah, we should hack it for the next 185 Mile South Posse song.
Yeah.
Because it's really good. It's great. This 7-inch is wild. I have the LP too, and I like the LP more. I always knew that I liked the LP more, but I do remember the 7-inch being better. And listening to it in my car, it was pretty rough. Enough that I like to keep these things positive. So I took some notes of what I really like. No Boundaries. First off, I love using No. That's so ill. And then also his voice, this singer is really, really good when he's on. And on the breakdown part, he's a great hardcore singer. So he has his moments of doing really well. Do you want to just talk on the recording? Because they use the scissor beat a ton on side A, and the recording is so bad you can barely hear the snare. So that's rough for the scissor beat. Scissor beat, you want less hi-hat, more snare. And this one you get more hi-hat, less snare. So epic fail from the engineer, but fuck it. He probably never knew how to do a scissor beat recording. Who can blame him? Or the dicka, as Ben says.
Dicka beat.
Won't Hang Myself. This song is straight up offensive because no song should be over 3 minutes and have a scissor beat. That's rough. Scissor beat songs
It's
should be fucking under a minute. Come on.
All right. All hardcore songs should be under 3 minutes.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, but side B has some solid moments. So side B, they don't do the scissor beat at all. And believe it or not, they actually just use a straight fast beat on the second song on Never Stop, which is okay, well, why don't you just do a straight fast beat on the songs on side A and make them better? Doesn't make any sense. But that song's pretty generic and forgettable also. Reach Out, we've talked on the intro, the talkie part, which is great. And as Daniel said, it goes into the best song, which makes it even better. On this song, they go to the bouncy beat, and it's kind of got that verbal assaulty guitar, and they'd go a little more verbal assaulty on the LP. But what I mean by that is he's kind of doing double picky stuff. There's some fast right hand action going on over a bounce beat, Yeah. And then the last song on the record, Open Your Eyes. I mean, it's them trying to write an opus. It's just an epic song. There's a million parts. They toss in a reggae part for Daniel. But it's too long. But
shakalaka.
Yeah. But so I'm going side B on the strength of Reach Out. But
yeah,
I think No Boundaries is really good, especially the second half of the song. So this is worth checking out. If people are going through the playlist, I would say listen to No Boundaries and listen to Reach Out and get an idea for where these guys are at their best. No Boundaries for the vocals and Reach Out for the music. Ben?
It's worth noting that the singer is named Squirrel, and I have a friend named Warren Curry who is obsessed with the fact that the singer of Billingsgate is named Squirrel. He thinks that's the funniest thing in the world, and I'm like mesmerized by that. Like, you think this guy's nickname is just the funniest thing that ever happened in the history of the world? Like the fact that this guy called himself Squirrel. Like, so shout out, and then now Warren's nickname is Warren the Underlord Squirrel, because he thinks Into Another is really funny too. So shout out to Warren the Underlord Squirrel, if you're listening.
Do you think he got that nickname because he's a fan of eating nuts? Like he didn't go anywhere without like a bag of peanuts or something? Or he was just an aficionado and like knew what a Brazil nut was? I don't know.
No.
Anyway. What's your theory, Daniel? Sorry.
He probably looks like a fucking squirrel.
That's true. He probably just like has chubby cheeks.
Chubby cheeks, big teeth.
And no one in this photo looks like that.
Yeah, so he must be a nut fan. You know, if it's not one, it's the other. So there you go. Occam's razor, dude. He's
squirreling away all the merch money.
Oh, how about that? Okay, number 5. We are going to do the Downpresser 7-inch, Age of Ignorance. Came out on Triple B in 2009. Early Triple B release. And this is Downpresser really coming to their own. This record is fucking great, in my opinion.
Yeah, Daniel, you start it off.
Okay.
Let's hear you go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard for me to break out these songs because Downpresser is like the ultimate mind fuck that I embrace. Like this is when they're really coming to their own, and all this songwriting, like there's no coherent songwriting going on. It's like riff and then move on to the next part with like another riff and then move on to the next part with another riff. But Dan's vocals and lyrics are so catchy and clever, to borrow a word from Daniel. I mean, it's perfect on here using that word clever. Like that somehow he's able to like glue these songs together with like lyrical content, which makes them make sense and makes them bang. And all these songs have that. It was really hard for me to like break this down to like coming up with a favorite, because each one of these songs has some sort of hook that I absolutely love. This is just a straight 6-song banger. I love everything on this, but the song Shiver is probably my favorite. I love when it goes to Palmine on the fast part. I've talked about it a million times on this pod because I think it was on my Nardcore Super 7. But yeah, so I'm leaning side A by a hair. And Daniel, let's go to you.
All right. Well, I'm going side B. And even though, you know, like you say, all the songs are good. All the songs sound good. All the playing is top notch and the vocals are great. And like you say, they do ride over it to give it some kind of coherency. I think what's interesting is a lot of the time with some of these songs, there'll be a mosh part, but then it'll come with an even more like faster, more brutal part after a mosh part on some of the songs. So it's like, nah, you thought you expended all your energy then, get back up, you know. I'm going with side B because I love the verse riff on 360 Disease. I think that's my favorite song on the 7-inch. The mosh part on the Labyrinth is so ill and it's kind of sleazy. The guitar is like real sleazy on it. And I love Broken Walls, like how like I just said, like it gets really up tempo out of the mosh part. So I'm gonna go side B, even though Arm's Length is a killer song, and so is Shiver.
Bedge, let's go to you.
So just from the name of the record, Age of Ignorance, I'm expecting it to be ignorant riffs front to back. So I'm, not the ignorant riff expert. So you guys tell me, do you think if this is a record that is chock full of ignorant riffs?
I think there's plenty ignorant riffs on here for sure.
Right on.
I think there's a celebration of ignorant riffs.
I would say it's a plethora of ignorant riffs.
A veritable cornucopia of ignorant riffs. The breakdown on Arm's Length almost sounds like the record is skipping. It's like he's leaving out beats, but it actually works rhythmically. There's some really weird beat going on there, but it's rhythmically correct. It's good playing. I got trial vibes from the end of the song Shiver. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely off the mark on that one. And what's a song where he says "eat like a cannibal"? That might be that song. And then listening to that double bass pedal just go ape shit. It's like that scene in A Clockwork Orange where they force Alex's eyeballs open and make him watch atrocities on a film projector. It's like Zach is duct taping headphones to my ears and he's forcing me to listen to metalcore because it's like it's like that. Did you guys ever read that article where this is from probably the end of the 70s. They played punk music for Chuck Berry. And they're like, what do you think of this? This is the Clash. This is the Ramones. This is the Sex Pistols. And Chuck Berry was just like so out of his element, just being like, but he had like funny things to say about these records. Like what that is to Chuck Berry, this is to me talking about it right now. That song 360 degrees. It sounds like it would make for a good drum exercise because there's a little bit of everything going on there rhythmically. And then the Labyrinth has a guitar solo that kind of breaks up the monotony. And then Broken Wall.
David Bowie.
What? Oh, the Labyrinth. That's right. And it's funny when I was listening to the Labyrinth, I'm like, oh, they should have put a voice. They should have put an echo on the dude's voice. That's like a wasted opportunity. And then I heard Broken Walls, which is the very next song. And there's an echo on his voice. So it's like they made up for it. So I'm going to go with side B.
Yeah, you ask and they deliver, dude. That's what Downpresser does. There's so many like lyrical gems on here, though. Like I had to pull up some stuff. So that line that you were talking about, Ben, that live like a beast, die like an animal. You can feast if you eat like a cannibal. That's so ill. And then my favorite one in
I like that.
What's that?
I really like that.
It's so good. And then the best line I think on that, this is on the Shiver track. He says, "Shoot first, ask questions never. Do you swear to tell the truth? Yeah, whatever." And like the way he says it in the song,
the way he says whatever, is an absolute highlight of this 7-inch.
Right.
Like, and, yeah, whatever.
Dude,
it's so cool.
I actually hate that term God tier, but like if you want to talk about like lyrical delivery, like that part is like no one else could do it. Like, and so there you are. Like you're on that tier. Like his flow on that song is out of this world. Here's another one from that song, The Labyrinth. Shout out David Bowie. Crusader, Truth Evader, False Prophet, Counterfeit Savior. And now here's what I like when they rhyme, like Ben, you're a fan of hip hop. Cross bearer without a prayer, submit to the mark you wear. Cross bearer without a prayer. Like that's a fucking brilliant line. Like I would be running around the house if I wrote that, you know, like, I mean, I've written shit that's pretty good and I know how it feels, but like when he wrote that line, cross bearer without a prayer, fuck, that's like next level shit that like people, you can sit and write forever and you can't attain it. Like that's that tap into like some otherworldly shit, you know?
What do you think Downpresser means? I've always wondered that.
It's some reggae thing, I think, right?
Okay, is it to do with dub?
I think it's some related to that. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously it's pushing a button of some regard, but I've never known exactly what it means, so it's always been a curious thing in my mind. Yeah,
I'll ask him.
I looked it up. Just now. It is slang. I found this on UrbanDictionary.com. It says any authoritarian figure, including government, people, police, and corporate management, possibly in some cases only including those on the front lines of population control. Police, the media, your boss, your spouse, your parents, teachers, security guards, parking attendants, etc. Anyone who tries
to push you down.
Control your thoughts, deeds, and how you choose to communicate or what you choose to communicate about. Possibly coined by the Swedish hip hop group Loop Troop. No, I don't believe that a Swedish hip hop group coined an English word.
Hey, dude, shout out Sweden. Shout out Frederick. Shout out Staffen.
I could be wrong.
Shout out Stefan Edberg. Shout out Dennis Lixon. I'm just thinking of Swedes.
But no, this is a great band name, though. Like,
yeah.
It's even iller. Like,
except for the bass player. We're not shouting out the bass player of Ace of Base.
No, he was a Nazi a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sick name, and then the meaning is sick apparently too, which is ill because like they were always like a good band, you know, in their early incarnations, but they had a million terrible band names before they settled on Downpresser. You know, they were Don't Be a Menace for a minute. They were Brass Monkey for a minute. And
oh God, I don't.
Yeah, like but they were hard as fuck. And I coined them Bricklayer once. And I don't know if they ever played a show off that or not, but
maybe they played a show with the Violators. Shout out Rock and Jock Softball.
Who was that dude? Mark? Who was the VJ? Like the long hair one?
Dan Cortez.
Okay, I don't know. But I'm way off.
MTV Sports, Dan Cortez.
Yeah.
None of those names that Downpresser were come close to the original name of Die Hard Youth. New Thugs on the Block.
Well, that would have been rough.
That's what they were called.
That would have been rough.
They?
Shout out Andy.
I don't know. Let's shout out Andy for sure. Okay, well, let's move on. The next one, again, this is, you know, we haven't done Funeral Oration yet, and I've talked about them a lot. And so this is a 7-inch they did, and a couple of these songs are on my favorite album that they do. So this is the Funeral Oration. What is it? 7-inch, Hopeless Records, 1995. And Dan, let's go to you.
Yeah. Friends are best. And to stay friends with Zach, I'll say side 2, because friends are best. And that I wish this Dutch band was as good as Marco van Basten, Frank Rijkaard, and Ruud Gullit, 3 of my favorite Dutch footballers of all time, as well as the king of Dutch football. Does anyone know who the king of Dutch football is?
No.
Johan van Cruyff. So, anyway, this is just below average pop punk to me. No offense.
No, you can say whatever you want. They're all dead.
Yeah. Well, thanks. But one thing that is interesting is that, you know, their name is derived from Pericles' funeral oration at the end of the Peloponnesian War. So, or I assume that's what it's from, which is a cool historical reference. But yeah, I didn't really have a lot between the two sides, but I did enjoy Friends Are Best as the best song on it. So I'm going side B.
See, I don't know. I guess this band just hits me in a weird place because I think that Friends Are Best song is terrible. It's the filler song of the 7-inch, I thought. And
yeah, but I'm just saying I like it because of the notion.
No, I know. It's sincere, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, but then we can just have a song about like pizza's good. You know?
It is.
It is. I know. Don't need to sing about it though. But and then the other song on side B, the Truly Intensive, I don't like how it starts. Like it's a little repetitive, but I do love how it just like kicks fast out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, what's up though? Like we slamming now. Like that's pretty ill.
What's up though?
Yeah. But side A, I love these songs. These are the 2 that are on the Funeral Oration self-titled. Funny enough, their second self-titled album, but the first one on Hopeless. And What Is It is just a cool song. I like it, like the starts and stops. And I just love his voice. I love that it's simple. It's simple like guitar music, you know, with like a unique voice. And I can totally understand how you think it's below average or whatever, because if I was to describe it, it would be like a dumbed down Jello singing over like dumbed down Bad Religion. You know, so I guess if you're looking for like a B or C level of both those bands, maybe this is it. But for some reason, it just gets me in the fucking feels. And I think that song Expanding is like one of my favorite songs. Like, I love how they just kind of keep milking at the end, but it's like a raging fast part and like those ring outs. Like, I don't know any other band that sounds like that, you know, like that do so many like guitar stops. Did you notice that at all when you're listening to this? Like, why does a guitarist keep like ringing out on a cymbal and then come back in? Like he does it a million times. And it seems like it'd be something that annoys me, but I just love it. And I don't know anyone else that does it.
I also noticed that the backups are not that great. Of what they're going for, they're not nailing it, but there's almost a charm to that.
Well, they're going for like that, like crassy type, like backup, like that real early 80s anarcho punk backup, but they should be going for a more powerful backup to fit this music.
Well, it seems that it's stuck in between the two, the oohs and ahs of Bad Religion and that. It's like somewhere in between, and it isn't quite nailing either.
I think that might be fair. But anyway, before I go to Ben, I'll just say that if people are perusing this playlist, I would say check out the song Expanding if you want to understand why I love this band. And I'm one of the rare ones that do. So, Ben, let's go to you.
Yeah, the other thing worth noting is this is like a mid-90s pop punk record. This band started putting out records in like 82 or something.
Yeah, it said 82 on their Wikipedia.
But obviously they did not sound like this in 1982. Otherwise, they would be the most influential punk band that ever existed, because this is what every band in the 90s sounded like. So what is it is like decent pop punk without doing the nasal voice and the do-dat beat. So this sounds like a record that me and my friend Josh would have been into around the time that it came out, but I just happened to not buy this record. But I was listening to a lot of music like this around in the mid-90s. We were into bands like Schleprock, Sicko, and Mandingo. They're kind of like second, like B-tier pop punk bands that don't have the NoFX vibe going on for them, which might explain why none of them ended up signing to Fat Records and being like way bigger.
Yeah, they were like the bands that were on Fearless before Fearless put out At the Drive-In.
Yeah, or empty records, or
they were all the bands that were on comps like Punk Bites.
Yes, totally Punk Bites bands. You know what's funny is there was Punk Bites and Punk Sucks. I think only Punk Bites got a vinyl release. Punk Sucks was superior, but didn't have a vinyl release.
I think Swindle's on Punk Bites.
One of the shining moments. And
got vinyl given to him.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben.
So Expanding is a pretty good song as well. Someone should do a database of like tasteful 90s pop punk that doesn't sound like NoFX, and like this would be in that database. None of the songs to me, it's funny how you're like, you know, this song is not good at all or whatever, or like, to me, none of these songs stand out. It's just like all pretty good. And then Truly Intensive kind of sounds a little different than the other ones. So I'm going to go with side B just for the variety's sake. So side B is my answer.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Side B wins. And hey, that makes perfect sense. So if like I'm one of the only Funeral Ration fans and I try to share a record and you guys like the stuff that I don't like, or like, you know, my stuff gets on the bottom. Makes sense. And then just to talk on their 80s stuff, we did a little bit on, I believe, side A, side B, part 2. Maybe? Oh, yeah. Because we talked about the Chicago versus Amsterdam split 7-inch. They put out like what's considered a pretty classic hardcore punk LP, I believe, in 1984 called Communion. It's really good. I'll share it with you guys. You can check it out. It's way, way different. They're doing like the scissor beat, but it's kind of like melodic in a way, and the guy's voice sounds the same. It's wild music. That's worth checking out if you like 80s hardcore. 80s, you know, a little bit different hardcore. Anyway, moving on to number 7. We're going to do the Madball. Been There, Done That 7-inch. Victory Records, 1998. This 7-inch came out between the second and third LP. It came out right before they did Look My Way, I believe, as a one-off on Victory. And yeah, Ben, let's go to you first. How do you feel about this?
I was wondering, is this considered bounce music?
I mean, I don't know. Would you consider this bounce music?
They haven't they haven't got to their full bounce potential of Hold It Down yet.
Well, I would say that
Like
one of their best bounce songs is the song New York City off Set It Off.
Yeah.
Like that tempo.
But I would say Hold It Down is full of bounce. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Although I would say that, like, yeah, full bounce. But Thing to Myself is like a pretty good like head bob song. You know, they hit that tempo. I don't know.
They're definitely bouncing on that song. I will talk about that in a minute.
Okay, so Ben though, Undetermined.
Okay. Was kind of what I could make out from the lyrics to Thinking to Myself. I was thinking it may have actually prevented people from doing crimes because he's saying it's not worth death or jail. You got to figure there are people who are living that life who actually heard this song and like hopefully thought twice about it. And then they give it up to Killing Time.
Yeah, well, to jump in before you go into Killing Time. So the first album, Set It Off, is pretty raw lyrically. But the second album, Demonstrating My Style, I have talked on the pod before. I think it's the most underrated, like not underrated in a way that it's underrated because it's classic, but it doesn't get like the credit for being a great positive hardcore album. Like a lot of the lyrics on there are really fucking positive, kind of in the way of like this Thing to Myself, right? Like how you're, you know, he's giving you a positive outlook there. Like, do good, bro.
Right. It's not acknowledged for being positive.
He's trying to make a posi change.
Hey, shout out to Andy again.
And then, so then they do a Killing Time cover, Fools Die. After that, also on side B. And Killing Time are kind of like the godfathers of this whole sound, don't you think? Who would you say is like the sound that they're doing on this record? Would you say Madball themselves created that, or it came a little bit before them, right?
Yeah, I would say Breakdown and Killing Time.
Right, which is the same band.
Is Breakdown, Killing Time, and Agnostic Front one voice? Okay,
and even by one voice, Madball's already doing their thing because that's what 92-ish.
Yeah, and also Matt Henderson plays on one voice, and he's writing all these Madball songs.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. That's exactly what I thought. So it's kind of like they're giving it up to the godfathers of this whole sound by covering Fools Die, you know, almost a decade after the Killing Time record came out. So I'm going to go with side B just because, you know, you got that positive song and you've got that cover. So and it's always good to acknowledge your influences.
Yeah. And I love Ben breaking down the New York hardcore lineage. That rules. Dan, let's go to you.
I've always felt the recording on this 7-inch and also the use of the voice box on the title track kind of waters down the power of Madball. You know, like going to that like vocal effect, it just is of the time. It's of the, you know, the 90s, and it just doesn't age well, I suppose. But the song Thinking to Myself is far superior to the title track, in my opinion. So if we were going 1 for 1, like side B is already winning. And that's not to say that Been There, Done That is not a good song. It's a fucking great song, you know. But I'm going to go side B because Thinking to Myself, like we said, it's got such a cool, like bouncy, early Hold It Down, like wink to it. You know, you can see what's going to come later on in life. 2 years later, I suppose.
Well, it actually is on Hold It Down, I think. And that's what's weird about this is like, you know, if this is like the basically, you know, kind of demoing for Look My Way, the third LP, it's weird that Thinking to Myself doesn't go on that record and they save it for Hold It Down.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then you get the bonus of a Killing Time cover, which is recorded in such a hard manner. You know, the backups are tough as fuck. And like, you know, I mean, there's plenty of pictures of Killing Time, later Killing Time shows where Freddie's just running the pit, you know, like, so it's a band that means the world to him, you know, so it shows in the cover. It's really good. So I'm going side B.
Yeah, I'm going side B also just because I think Thinking of Myself is one of my, it's a top Madball song, top 20, you know, top 10 maybe, top 15, somewhere in there. But been there, done that, thinking back on this, like, it wasn't one of my favorite songs. I listened to the song and it's like, it's fucking good, dude. And then also an interesting thing about this song, listening to it, that breakdown at the end, like the chuggas with like the up-tempo riffing, that would be like a hardcore trope that would carry on. And I'm wondering if this is the first time it happened. I can't think of anything like before it. And I might be totally wrong. Like I'll have to go back and listen, but like the dun dun dun, you know, but then the other guitar is going so you kind of have like a chuggamosh going, but you have the other guitar like doing really up tempo down.
I would say
riffing.
Songs to Fan the Flames, Refused do that kind of thing. I'm not saying that Madball would have been necessarily influenced by Refused, but I would say that's a mid-90s.
And they're doing that a lot.
They use that, like one guitar and the rhythm section are doing the stops while another guitar is doing more playful, or not playful, but doing
but the other
more
guitar is like going
things.
up tempo.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check that out because like this is a hardcore trope that would like carry on, like, you know, Terror would do it a bunch, and then like a bunch of modern hardcore bands all use this trick. And this is like Madball doing it on
Snapcase on the
oh yeah, Snapcase too, for sure.
Album, but the first one, yeah, which is like early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But also like think about it in the context of like, you know, put it in the breakdown spot, not having it be like the verse. Maybe. I don't know. If that makes any sense. Like you're crescendoing to this part.
Yeah.
Know?
I mean,
as like the big moment. Like, you know, because lots and lots of bands do this now all the time. Like, you know, someone does a full length, there's a part like this. But I'll revisit those too. I never liked Snapcase, and I never liked Refused either. Although that record is better than their the travesty of The Shape of Punk to Come. All right, for the 8th one, let's do, this was Ben's idea. We're going to do the Take Offense album from 2019, Pure Noise Records. The LP is called Keep an Eye Out. And yeah, I'll start it off. So I think Take Offense came into like their own sound. Like they demoed, they might have done 2 demos, and then they did a split with PC Death Squad. But they came into their own sound on the Peace and Death 7-inch, which came out in 2008, Mind Disease Records. And because like on that one, they have Walks of Life, which is basically like them really carving out their own sound. And then I think that they were kind of on the front end of that resurgence of like the crossover stuff, but their own take on it was adding a lot of the Venice in. So like, you know, they're doing what Cause for Alarm, Corrosion Conformity, like that kind of crossover, but also adding like the Suicidal, Beowulf type stuff. You know, and also we should say like Power Trip was doing that pretty early. They were kind of like right on the same wavelength, but now there's been a bunch of bands that did that. And, you know, while I think Take Offense is one of the better ones, I think that they might have taken this right-hand turn or left-hand turn or whatever for a reason, which is just, okay, well, now a lot of bands are doing this style. Let's attack something kind of new. And they get really ambitious here, like with a lot of the riffing. Like the song Keep an Eye Out, like this riff is fucking wild. Like, you know, I'm a guitarist, but not a good one. And I like listen to something like this. I'm like, how long would it take for me to practice to learn how to play this? In fact, I think that like my own personal hell would be like being the rhythm guitarist in a band with Greg. You know, like, oh, here's the riff, dude. And it's like, well, how am I going to play this, dude? Come on. Like you've concocted this by playing this riff for like 2 weeks straight in your bedroom. You know, like I can never be on this level. So a lot of this is really ambitious, and AH has the voice and also the creativity to keep up with it. Kind of like how when we were talking about Downpresser, that the songs can be very disjointed, but they're tied together by the vocals. So H does a great job of that. That said, side A is almost just too ambitious for my brain. I will say that like there's a great guitar solo on the song Internalized. Is very Maiden-esque. Like this solo is beyond like hardcore guitar soloing. This is like on that level. And it's why Greg's one of the great guitarists, straight up. But side B fucking bangs. You know, I love the idea of having side B start with an intro, you know, and that really plays the side A, side B thing. And like, you know, the way that I always think about sequencing records, or, you know, back when I would do side A and side B with my records, like I'm thinking about what song I want to start out side B. And obviously these dudes are, if they're fucking putting an intro as like basically the 6th track on the record or the first song on side B. And I also love the tie-in calling it Zoned In. You know, it's kind of a throwback to like one of the hits that they have, like the song T.O. Zone. So that into Guilt Free, which is just a straight ripper, is like the shit. And then all the songs coming out of that, I think bang, you know, just right on through. So I'm going side B. I think side B rips harder, although side A is like them being super ambitious and like showing their chops and showing like what makes them a special band. Daniel, let's go to you.
I'm of the same kind of mind as you, I think. The recording of performance on this LP, like, it's top notch. The recording sounds amazing. You can tell the care of every vocal track, every single guitar line. Like, it's masterful. You know, they really outdid themselves on this record. The song Keep an Eye Out is like a mega opus to start a record off, you know? Super good. And then my other two favorite songs on side A are Internalized. I can't read my own handwriting. And Awaken a Dream. I think AH's vocals on both of those are really good, and the guitar work is awesome. I think the rhythm section on this LP fucking kills it too. Like Joe and Randy really knock it out the park. Now, side B starts with exactly what I want, a hard as fuck intro. I love the effect on the toms during it too, like the like on the drum rolls. They like,
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, they make the toms sound like fucking maniacal. It's so cool. And you know what? Like, it's interesting that you said when this style is starting to perpetuate and bands are doing it, but T.O. is like leading the charge, but they would, you know, bringing in a lot of the Suicidal and, like you say, the Venice influences, the California part of what crossover was. And, you know, shout out to Greg doing the Suicidal laugh right now. I wish that was on the soundboard. But this one, I feel like they sound like Leeway, but with better vocals on a couple of the songs on side B, especially Guilt Free. Like, I feel that song, it's just so cool. The vocal placements and flourishes that he does is very, very much kind of sounds like what a Leeway, where the vocals would be placed without the, you know. And then Reap What You Sow is my favorite song besides the equal with Zoned In, because the really cool backup over the chorus, the reap, like it's just under the vocals, you know, and it sounds so cool. It's a really awesome sounding song. So I'm going side B. You know, it's fucking awesome. And yeah, shout out to Greg, because the guitar work on this, normally noodling would have me skipping, and there's something about when it's done really well. That's why I like Iron Maiden. That's why I like, a few other bands, but Greg's shredding on this is top notch.
Yeah, they really nailed the backups you're talking about on that Reap What You Sow.
Yeah.
Like, for them to pull off that, singing backups is a difficult task.
Yeah, it could have really failed, but it made the song the best song on the record.
Yeah, I agree. I think that might be the best song on the record. That and Guilt Free, neck and neck, and Zoned In, of course, like in intro, but that's on a different lane. Ben,
yeah, we got to have one with AH on it to call it the best song on the LP, right?
Agreed. Ben, what's your take on this?
Well, I'm gonna begin this with a question that I'm gonna pose to both of you. Name a band, any genre, that has been together for 15 or more years and only keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Who's the best?
Besides Retaliate. Besides Retaliate. I actually wrote Besides Retaliate in my notes. I really did.
All right.
I'm not kidding. Okay. But seriously, think about it.
They're the one. They're great.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. I can't think of anyone else.
Well, there's another band that we talked about on here, Downpresser. I think that they started, they got to be around 15. And they did an LP that came out December of 2019 that might be their best thing too. So they would be the other one, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're right.
Their second LP is better than their first. And their first one is really good. Although they've only done 2 LPs, and Take Offense is like 4 LP band.
So you don't think The Latest Sick of It All is better than Blood Sweat?
I don't think I've heard The Latest Sick of It All, so it might be. But I've really got that possibility.
I did see them in 2019, and they were as good as I've ever seen them.
Yeah. So I'm being facetious with the question, because the question is set up to say, no, you're right. Take Offense is.
No, I know. I'm just saying, maybe their album output isn't, but fuck, still so good. And you know what? The last 2 Terror records are 2 of my favorite Terror records. I should say.
That's true.
So.
Oh, okay. So you actually managed to name 2 other bands.
Yeah. No, but I think that's a great question. Maybe we should have saved that for a topic episode, but.
Oh, well, too late now.
Too late. All right, go on, Ben.
This album grew on me when I went from thinking it sounded funny and audacious to loving it, and then buying it and then bumping it in my car many times. Usually when I buy something, I'll listen to it once all the way through and file it away. But I have this, in the center. I'm a CD guy. I have this in the center console, ready to go. And to me, it totally is both of you mentioned this. It's like Leeway meets late 80s Suicidal. And it actually inspired me to revisit that late 80s Suicidal material, because I never liked it. And I still hate it, but I love this. So I guess that says a lot, that you're doing that later Suicidal stuff, but kind of at least in my opinion, better than Suicidal did it. Well,
they cherry picked all the best parts, right?
That's got to be it.
So they didn't take the stuff that really drags that stuff down,
Well, and also if you're just looking at late 80s Suicidal, there's a lot of hit or miss stuff, but the album How I Laugh Tomorrow If I Can't Smile Today, that's the one. So Ben, you should check that out by itself, that whole record.
I think I did.
Follower. Okay. But if you're listening to that and Art of Rebellion, and there's one other, Lights Camera Revolution, I believe. If you're listening to them all in a row, that might be a little much. And those 2 that follow it are not as great. But How I Laugh Tomorrow is that's top 20 record of any genre for me still. So anyway,
I tried. I was gonna say, his voice has personality, and the songs take all kinds of weird turns that you can't see coming from a million miles away. And that to me is what makes Take Offense the best band out of all these bands that are kind of playing in this general style right now. I call it leeway core. which is like the only kind of metallic hardcore that I can get with. Like, like if you're doing like a metallic hardcore band that isn't influenced by Lee Wave, there's like pretty much like a 100% chance that I'm not going to like your band. So, you know, thankfully there's enough of that stuff happening right now where I can, you know, dig a lot of it. Divide. I love where he says divide and conquer is the name of the game. And he's just like injecting too many syllables in this little part of the song that goes into this fast part, which is like awesome. It totally works. And then the guitar work on Internalized is so above anything I could ever do or ever think of doing. Just like you were saying, like it would be a nightmare for you to play rhythm guitar in this band. Like it would be a nightmare for me to play lead guitar in this band. Like it reminds me of how Alex joined from Chain of Strength joined Excel. And like, I know some of those Excel guys, and it's like, I literally couldn't do that. Like if they said, hey, we want you to be the guitar player of Excel, I'd be like, I'm incapable of playing guitar that well. I just can't do it. And then I love the some of the guitar. It sounds real flangery and chorusy and real 80s sounding, like Van Halen, which I love. Like that's my favorite kind of guitar effect is the flanger.
We know.
Yeah, I always bring it up. Anytime there's a flanger, I will bring it up.
Do you know what? There's a guitar part, since you're discussing the guitar right now. I think it's on. God, because I listened to this like 3 or 4 times today. Like now it's all mushing together, you know. But I think we were talking about the Reap What You Sow song. There's a guitar part that's a break, and it is like almost like a Susie goth part. It just hits it for 2 measures, and then it goes back into, you know, regular Take Offense, and then he starts soloing and, you know, shredding. But there's like a really discordant, like with a heavy guitar part where he just goes, it's just so, it sticks out so much to me, where I was like, whoa, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, and with you talking about like Ben liking this and not liking a lot of that other stuff because you're saying they're plucking the best stuff. There's a lot of the stuff on side A that reminds me of, you know, when I was a kid and I used to listen to a lot of butt rock, you know, like Poison and shit like that. Like some of these riffs are bordering on some of that like 80s hair metal, and like, but he's just plucking out like the good stuff and like in and out with it. And then you have the vocals keep it hardcore, you know? Yeah. So it's like you can kind of get away with it. You couldn't get away with it if like you had like a, you know, even an 80s speed metal singer over the top of it. It would come off weird. But you know, there's so much like, let's just push these boundaries for like, you know, a couple measures or for like a riff. And it keeps it interesting because they're able to like pull it back and stay in that lane where it like keeps it straightforward enough to like it. But like, you know, they just line step a little bit, and it's great. Yeah.
And even the record cover itself is pushing the boundary of like almost bordering on absurd, but not quite. Let's go as far as we can, and while maintaining like quality and being cool and good. And like when you were talking about Susie and the Banshees, like think about how like that kind of chorusy flangery sound just in the 80s. Like you have goth, you have like the Van Halen hair metal stuff, and then you have like Dag Nasty Verbal Assault, and they're all doing that. They all have that guitar tone going, and it like works for so many different things, but it's all like solidly like associated with the 80s. And the album as a whole, I actually don't have a go-to song. Like whenever I put this, like some records, when I put them on, I'll start at a certain song. Like this is the song I want to hear. Like this one, I just put it on from the beginning and listen to the whole thing. And it's kind of difficult for me to be like which one to figure out which side is better. But I actually went with side A by a hair. I think there's just a few like moments that that are on side A that stand out for me. So that's what I'm going with.
I think if you're on the fence, Zoned In has got to push you to side B because you're banging your head, dude. Plus, like Daniel saying, like that drum shit is just fucking wild. Like, what are you even doing, and why am I loving it?
Yeah,
like it's just some of that out there shit. Like, what?
Just having fun production and making something stand out and be different, and just like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like this at all, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the end of that Bad Religion song Anesthesia. How when they go to like the and then like the drums in the back are just like doing whatever, like do 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 do, like he's hitting like the reggae drums almost.
Yeah,
it's like, whoa, what the fuck is happening, and
it's
why
delay.
is this working?
Give me some.
Yeah, he turned the delay up on that.
Give me some reggae.
Yeah. All right. Well, this album rips. Everyone check it out. And this is one to not skip through. Like if you're skipping through that funeration just to listen to Expanding at my request, this is one you can bang the whole way through like Bedge does in his car. And Ben, it's funny because I was asking Randy and Age today. I was like, did any of your records come out on CD? And they did say this one did. And I think one other one came out in a little cardboard sleeve. But
definitely the one with here, before I embarrass myself, United States of Mind definitely came out on CD. I've seen that. I want to say all of them did. Here, let's see. Yes and yes. You call them a 4-album band? I'm seeing 3 albums here. What am I missing?
Let me pull it up.
Tables Will Turn, United States of Mind. Keep an eye out. What's the other?
I think Under the Same Shadow is what I consider, but that might only be 4 songs. But it's on a 12-inch.
Yeah, 4-song 12-inch. Yeah, it's a 4-song 12-inch. So of the full lengths, all 3 of them are on CD. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Yeah, 3 LPs. And yeah, I get a little confused because I thought United States of Mind is shorter than it is. But yeah, it's like a full length too. Well, Righteous. Let's go on to our last one. And we're doing the final Youth of the Day 7-inch, the Disengage 7-inch. Revelation Records 1990. Ben, let's go to you first. What's your take?
This is an incredible record that I've been listening to for a long ass time. And I remember whenever I think of this record, the first thing I think of is listening to this on a cassette with headphones on during that massive Landers earthquake in 1992. And it was weird because when you're listening to really loud music on headphones, you don't hear that low rumbling that when earthquakes happen. So it kind of makes it seem less scary when an earthquake is happening because you're only feeling the room move. You're not hearing the. So I always think of the earthquake. And then the other thing is, at Rev 25, Ray Capo says, I want Walter coming up on stage to sing this song with me because he wrote it. And Walter probably didn't know the words because Ray Capo wrote the words to it. And so I want to say Walter embarrassingly stage dove during Disengage. So he didn't have to so he's off the hook for singing along. But it's so funny that of course Walter wrote that song because it's so fucking good. He's clearly the best songwriter of that whole early Rev scene. It's of course the most epic Youth of Today song was written by the best songwriter in that whole scene. And the breakdown is just, and the lyrics are incredible. It's almost I want to say this helped in a weird way help me get into heavy metal music because it's it got that dan digga digga dig dan dan, that last Bold 7-inch does some of that stuff too. It's almost like new wave of British heavy metal, but overlaid over a Youth Crew sound. And then Ray is Krishna at this point, and he's kind of expressing real broad viewpoints about, materialism and society crumbling and stuff that I totally can agree with, even though I'm absolutely not Krishna at all. And then Modern Love Story. So now we're on side B, Modern Love Story. It's a total rager and it has no breakdowns, which is refreshing in this era in this scene where people like they like rely so heavily on breakdowns to like write a really good song that's just fast front to back is like, it's pretty cool to hear that. And then Envy is the most Judge sounding Youth of Today song, which I believe Porcell wrote when he was, Judge was going at this point. That was like his main gig. And I never really thought about that until I heard the episode for this album on the Where It Went podcast. And Porcell said, this is the most like Judge sounding thing I did in Youth of Today. So it's really good as well. And I consider this a perfect record. And it's like insane how many perfect records Rev put out in such a short period of time. It's almost like we take it for granted because it's like, this is like some of the first stuff you get into when you get into this kind of music. And it's just like, oh yeah, of course. Like, of course, Youth of Today, like all the records are perfect and Gorilla Biscuits and Judge and you name it. And it's just like, looking back on it, it's like astonishing, like that there could be so much great music happening all at the same time, all on the same record label, all on the same scene. And then, like Youth of Today just don't have any duds. And this is the cherry on top. The band had already broken up when they recorded this. It was like Salad Day, like Minor Threat Salad Day style. Like, let's all get back in the studio for 3 more songs. And so it's kind of like a cherry on top of like their perfect legacy. And like, I'm going to go with side A because it's the Nervous Breakdown Theory, the best song. If one side of a record has only one song on it, but that's the best song, that's the one that wins. So I'm going to go Disengage, side A.
Yeah, this is so interesting in the lineage of Youth of Today because, they do Can't Close My Eyes, which is great in its own right. Great first 7-inch, right? But the 2 LPs are the fucking bangers. Like, they're perfect hardcore records. And then, like, to do this on the end is kind of like Unbroken in a way, to do their masterpiece, Life, Love, Regret, and then come off that and just take a slight tweak of the sound and then, like, create, like, 2 7-inches in the end, which are, like, amazing as well, but just a tiny, tiny bit different. This recording is different than the Youth of Today LPs. It's a little less raw, a little more produced. But the songs are right there. Although, with what that part you were talking about, Ben, on Disengage, like the part going into the breakdown, the dun, 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 what a part, like those dynamics. And that's a part that would be, replicated a lot from hardcore bands, like moving forward. Modern Love Story, it's a rager. It's the closest to like old Youth of the Day, I guess. And then Envy, yeah, I guess he is a little judgy. Like, I wrote a note that gives me no help now because I was thinking like this could have been like, if they continued, this would be like kind of where they would go with the sound. I guess it is just a little more judgy, metallic-y. I wrote down a glimpse of what could have been, which doesn't help me at fucking all, but like, I don't know. Disengage is great. Envy's great. Modern Love Story is a rager. Fucking A. I got to go Disengage, though. It's the best song on the record for sure. Although all 3 are great, and Youth of the Day is great. Daniel, what's your take?
Well, since I'm following Ben and have many of the same thoughts, what's really interesting is as I was listening to this back then. Yeah, no, but I'm saying
I got snubbed.
No. That Ben brought up some of the points that I want to talk about. What's really interesting and very uncanny is, as I was listening to this, I was, watching SummerSlam 1990 and Earthquake, the wrestler, was feuding with Hogan.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm just trying to say.
Well, it's bullshit too. Like
I'm just trying to bring in an Earthquake reference to go with Ben's.
Well, I'll go on that for a second. It's a rare time that WWF didn't do a blow off on a pay-per-view. It's very disappointing because Hogan was out for all those months because Earthquake injured him. And they come back and it was like a count out or something. It was like Hogan never got his victory on like pay-per-view.
Because Dino Bravo was involved.
R.I.P. Sweet Prince.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because this is the one era of wrestling one of two eras of wrestling where I was actually paying attention, and now I don't remember anything. I remember all those wrestlers, but I couldn't have told you who fought in SummerSlam 90, but I'm sure I watched it. So I'm useless.
I got to say about this whole EP, Walter on bass is incredible. Like the bass on this is so good. I mean, everything on it is so good. Like Sammy's killing it. But
why are you firing shots at Craig ahead, dude? He was pretty great too.
Yeah, but sorry, Craig. Disengage is by far the best song of the three. And it's interesting that Ben refers to this as the Salad Days because similar to Stumped, while it being a good song, is nowhere near the caliber of the other songs on the 7-inch. And that is the same for Modern Love Story. It is, it feels unfinished to me. It's got clumsy vocal placement. Love Story! Like, I don't know. It's never been one that's grabbed me.
Isn't that though showing that they can still just YOLO? They're like, all right, we're going to have two big bangers, Disengage and Envy. And then let's just do one song where we rage. So we show we still got it.
But I don't think it's that. I mean, maybe that's the intention. It just doesn't feels rushed to me. Envy is so good. I love the low key, like, here we go, like ad lib at the beginning, you know. But yeah, this whole EP is laden in Krishna lyrical vibes throughout, you know. Shelter obviously is going at this time, and you know, it's definitely heard. Even the Disengage song is a very Krishna lyrical kind of the idea of, you know, not stepping aside from society and trying to do something different and think about things differently. It's obviously going on in the lyrics. I think the one of the best things about, you know, there's three different eras of Capo performances, you know. There's the snarling wild animal out of a cage in the early. Then there's the controlled, like, super aggression of we're not in this alone. And then there's this, which went on to influence so many records that would come 90 to 95 of the disengage, you know, like a little whiny part. Like, or the Envy part, Envy, when it's going into that break on Envy, like it has a whiny, still kind of hard, but whiny element to it. So many bands and so many singers have like copied that, like the taking the foot off the aggressive thing to kind of emote with a word or a line or something. I mean, I love the 7-inch. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. But Disengage is the banger, side A, all day.
Yeah. And I think that was a good take, Daniel, on like that one little vocal trope. Because you're right. You know, you gotta disengage. Yeah.
And they were saying on where it went, or I think it was Porcel who they were interviewing, but he was like, Ray came in to do the vocals and he was all singy, like really singy, like Shelter style. And they were like bummed, like, no, don't sing it that way. And it took a long time to convince him to just be like, just belt it out. Just, this is Youth of Today. Sing it like Youth of Today, like sing it aggressively. And then finally he was just like jumping, running back and forth in the studio, and they made the mic so he could hold it in his hands and you know, jumping off the walls. And
that's the same way he did the vocals for We're Not in This Alone. Dom Fury like deconstructed the mic so he could like leap around the room.
Well, they just had to give him some Coke. You know,
Coca-Cola?
Like, let's pick this up, Ray. Do a bump.
Do you know what's another thing we haven't mentioned about this? I love the strange tour pictures that go with this release. You know, the pictures in the van and the like looking through the window type stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweatpants and Doc Martens. That was a big topic. And I don't want to retread on stuff that they already talked about on that podcast. But yeah, I think we all saw the same stuff with this record.
And Ray's weird haircut too.
Yeah.
Well, we can just say that, you know, this record, if you want to dive hard into it, check out the Where It Went podcast. And they do this record and dive way into it, as only the Where It Went podcast can do properly. So check that out. But you can check out the 7-inch on the Spotify playlist. And unfortunately, you can't see those photos on there until Spotify steps up their game and puts lyrics and layouts on.
Yeah, Google Images it until then.
Yeah, hit it up on Discogs or whatever. But yeah, you guys did a great job again. I think this is really fun. And everyone out there, remember there's a playlist for every episode, 185milessouth.com. Send in the records you want us to do, 185milessouth@gmail.com. That's the one spot where you can hit me up and I will get your email. If it takes a couple days to respond, it might, but I'll get back to everyone.
Also, when we post about this episode, if you want to leave any comments, we'll cue you to leave comments of like records that you want to see done as well.
Yeah, we can pull them off the Instagram. It's just
if you're lazy.
It's not my favorite. Hit up that Gmail because then it's there forever. I don't delete that shit. I'm one of those assholes that has like 19,000 emails, you know? But yeah. All right, dudes. We'll talk to you on Monday. Bye-bye.